So an advanced angle that you can take once you have all of your presentation down is the 7 checks in every house. You can use this in situations where you're talking to someone who's nice, they're giving you the time of day, they just don't want life insurance. So let's say you have someone and you're trying to quote them $85 a month for $15,000 and they don't want to buy life insurance, they just don't believe in life insurance. And that's totally okay, Ms. Johnson. Life insurance, yeah, who needs it? One thing I want to present to you, a lot of people actually have this, is they get actually burial programs. Just burial programs. Because what a lot of people don't really think about is all the costs that come along with being buried or being cremated, right? Because you have the service fees. Those cost roughly about $2,000 for the embalming and transportation and all that stuff. You have to buy the casket. So caskets are roughly about $3,000 to $4,000, but then you have to buy the vault that the casket goes into. So that's another $2,000. And then you got to buy the marker for the grave. So it's a tombstone or whatever. That's another $2,000 roughly. I mean, these are just average prices. You can Google them. And then you also have to pay for the actual funeral service itself. And funerals roughly cost around $3,000 to $4,000. It's the same with cremation. Like cremations cost roughly about $5,000 to $7,000 because the actual act of cremating costs about $1,000 to $2,000. And then the funeral and services are another $4,000 to $5,000. And then what a lot of people don't think about is also the opening and closing of the grave. So they got to pay somebody to dig that hole and then to bury the casket, which costs about another $1,000. So all of this added up, it works out to about $15,000. So yeah, the burial program for that would cost about $85 a month for $15,000. So we can get you set up with that. How's that sound? So what did I just do in the first check? I'm just taking the exact same thing of $15,000 for $85 a month and repackaging it. I'm taking it from life insurance to a burial program. The second check is final expenses. So you're painting the picture of, so yeah, you're not interested in the burial program. That's totally fine. One more thing just to bring up to you. What about a final expense program? Because I understand you already have all that paid for as far as on the burial side, but when you go to be with the good Lord, somebody's got to clean all this up. And not only that, your kids got to fly in, they got to pay for the flights, they got to take time off work. And you have 3 kids, you can leave about $5,000 for each of them. That works out to be about $15,000 of coverage, and that's about $85 a month. So go grab your driver's license for me. And so you can transition on that to see if they value that. And if not, then you can go into final gifting. So where the first check was taking the focus from life insurance and putting it on just a burial program, the second is focusing on their kids. Well, maybe they don't like their kids. And so the third check is focusing on their grandkids, the final gifting program. So if the client hates their kids, well, everybody loves their grandkids. So it looks something like this. Hey, Ms. Johnson, well, yeah, no worries. Those final expense programs, your kids are all wealthy. Well, Ms. Johnson, if we could dream together, I mean, it's free to dream, right? Well, you were telling me earlier about your grandkids, your 5 little grandkids, and you were mentioning that little Johnny was really good at the piano, right? Well, a lot of people like taking advantage of is actually the final gifting programs. And what that looks like, Ms. Johnson, you could actually leave $3,000 to each of your grandkids, and that would pay for a lot of piano lessons, wouldn't it, Ms. Johnson? Yeah, and you said little Sally, she wants to go into dance? Yeah, so you could pay for the first year of her dance class because those are expensive. So yeah, if you did $3,000 for each of the 5 grandkids, that'd be about $85 a month. And we can get that set up. And when you go to be with the good Lord, that would be a final kiss from the grave for your grandbabies. So we can see if we can get you approved for that. I just need your driver's license. So why don't you go grab that for me? And then the fourth check is a 10 or 20 pay. Maybe they don't want to pay forever. Maybe they're the type that just wants to pay all up front and move on. So you can present a 10 or a 20 pay to them. In that situation, you're probably presenting that to someone who makes the connection of, I don't want to pay this for the rest of my life. And they're doing the math of, if I pay this for the next 20 years, then I pay way more into it than I would ever get out of it. Well, that's where you would present a 10 or a 20 pay. And those, you're never going to pay more into it than you're going to get out of it, Ms. Johnson. That's the big line to use with them. And they could do the math and see the benefit of a 10 or a 20 pay. And then once they're done paying, they're all done. The fifth check in the house is if you have a husband and wife, and you can take the angle of income replacement. So you could say, Mr. Johnson, how much do you make every month? What's your Social Security? $3,000? Okay, Ms. Johnson, and yours is $2,000? Well, Ms. Johnson, did you know when Mr. Johnson goes to be with the good Lord, you only get the greater of your 2 incomes? So that means your household income goes from $5,000 a month, $3,000 for him, $2,000 for you, to just $3,000. You get his income, but then your bills are cut in half. have. So can you pay the bills with just $3,000 a month? Well, what if we gave you a little bit of leeway when he goes to be with the good Lord and give you like a 9-month runway? Well, that's $2,000 a month. Over 9 months, we can get you, $15,000 of cash up front to help pay the bills while you transition and figure out your next steps. And that would just be $85 a month for an income replacement plan. So we can see if we can get you guys each approved for one and then go from there. So that's step 5, income replacement. The final 2 checks to see in every house is if they have any annuities or retirement programs, 401ks just sitting around that we could roll over. That's a very advanced angle, but if you run into someone like that, call your manager and we'll be able to help transition that in a house. The final check is referrals. You could say, Ms. Johnson, I wasn't able to help you out. You have everything set up, but is there anybody you know that would benefit from this information, Ms. Johnson? And my company does a really cool thing where anybody I can meet with and help, just like I helped you today, I'll give you $20. And actually, I really need appointments over the next week, so I'll pay you $5 right now for anybody we can get on the phone and I could talk with and schedule an appointment. Is there anyone we can call right now, a sibling or a friend or your neighbor next door? Can you give me a favorable introduction? And that's the 7th check. So before you leave a house, maybe they don't want life insurance, but you can go over burial insurance, final expenses, final giftings, 10 and 20 pays, income replacement, make sure there's no annuities or retirement savings laying around not being put to good use, and then asking for referrals. So those are the 7 checks in every house, an extra angle, and it just takes one time to lead to more premium and more sales. So make sure to use this skill because it only takes one time to pay off.